Hello, hello, what's going on, crypto world? Hope you all had a beautiful day today. This is No Noise Research. I'm your host, Z-Rex, coming at you live, October 3rd, 2018. Getting some pretty wild moves today. Some BTC, yet more indecision, kind of both ways. We'll jump right into that here shortly. A couple things that I browsed on the headlines that I thought were notable. Or I guess I can just call them notable headlines or something, I don't know. Gemini is insured now, so their cash deposits are insured via the FDIC, and now they have the crypto deposits also insured. In a video about a month ago, I was talking about there was a week where Lloyd's of London and a couple other AIG, I think, was another one. They kind of quietly were releasing that they were starting to underwrite insurance for crypto. So that's pretty cool. Just, you know, more fundamental building in the space. CFTC even said, I think earlier today, it's here to stay. I mean, of course it is. It would have died already if that wasn't the case. Also, Poloniex cuts off margin and lending for US customers. Not a huge shocker, but it does suck for people that like to leverage up a little bit or just lend out and earn a return. But all our regulations are terrible, so they probably just didn't even want to mess with that. I don't blame them. It kind of sucks, but like I said, not that surprising. Alright, enough of stupid news. Let's go into the market. Oh, let me go to live screen too before I forget. That would have sucked. Alright, so still hovering around that 220, just kind of, you know, real boring still, guys. The story hasn't really changed that much since the last couple of videos. I was a little more slightly bearish yesterday. Since this is pretty much the same, we're waiting to see if we can get above 225 billion. That would be nice and bullish. And obviously breaking that 200 level is going to be real nasty. At this point, though, bulls really need to step up if they're going to. Kind of some movers today. Kind of flat across the board. Small gains. Mostly slightly up, but pretty mixed board. Nothing too exciting. Sia coins having a really good day. Yeah, the file sharing coins and stuff like that, I think, are very underrated. Those are going to be big players in the long run, just like privacy coins will be, but they're less talked about, I would say. Bitcoin dominance still over 51%, kind of just hanging around barely onto that 50 level. So everything is pretty much the same. It's been very boring. I'm sure everybody feels the same way. Let's go ahead and look at the chart. So we did have that daily close below the 21 exponential, which is a little bearish. Had a nice quick sell-off, nothing too crazy, just a little crash to, you know, about low 6400s. Came up and made this little mini hammer, and now so far this daily that still has a lot of time on it, like 19 hours. Trying to get back above and engulf it, but since there's so much time left, it's hard to say on the daily. Can't really get that much from this because it's so damn neutral. It has been. We've been talking about it for the last week or so. Incredibly neutral, especially when it was compressing between 21 and 55. So still battling around their price, as you can see on the upper end of this wick, came right up to the 55 exponential. So this is going to get bearish still to me, especially if this next day cannot close above this 21 and at least get back in this compression range. Or stay above definitely this hammer, which is, what is that, about 6,500 roughly, give or take 20 bucks. Let's see, on the 4 hour, the bears have lost the momentum on the 4 hour though over the last 8 hours or so. And it looks like actually in this last candle, it'll be about the last 12 hours, they've definitely lost momentum, since it will print here in about 4 minutes, as you can see on this side. Oh, I'm gonna make the chart bigger. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, this is going to be hardcore resistance. Same shit, different day. We've been talking about this here. It looks like it might want to come test up here again around 6,700s. Let's see if the hourly is giving us that. Yeah, we did just go pretty bullish on the hourly and like on this big engulfing candle. And one thing about this candle that did just print a few hours ago is it's one of the biggest candles that we've seen since back here roughly, and that was on the 28th. So that's definitely notable. You know, that's a long time in the crypto world. So we haven't seen a candle this large since back here on the 28th, which was about, let's see, 60, it was almost a couple $100 from the whole range, and this one was about, you know, 125 bucks or so. Some nice volume on here, as you can see, and again, this did get fairly bullish on the DMI, especially here for the next few hours. These bears continue to stay compressed and stay in this weak zone, which is this middle line, below this middle line where my crosshair is on the bottom. So, which they are getting turned down that way on this hourly, which closes in 2 minutes. So that's going to be the first start of the weakness. If they get pushed down there in the next couple hours, this is likely to run up to back up here in the 6,700 area. And since so much time has gone by in this consolidation, you can see the trend line that's been rejected so many times is becoming ever so close. Even if it popped right here, it would only have to go to 68.50, but likely it's going to take another few days for this to play out. And it's just going to probably come up right and touch it and be super boring to just piss everybody off. It's kind of what it seems like it's doing. And you can see there's a nice little trend line kind of right there. And so it's probably just going to wedge up into this apex probably right before it, because everybody's waiting for that. It'll probably happen like somewhere in here right before it'll finally break. Hallelujah. I know everybody's waiting for it. I definitely am, for sure, because this is really hard to trade ranges when they only become, you know, like $100 or so. Then you have to look at crazy time frames like 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and that's just too nerve-wracking for me. Alright, so neutral still on the daily, neutral on the 3-day, neutral on the 4 hour, but bullish now on the 1 hour. And that's what we've been watching a lot here, is the 1 hour DMI. You can see here, back over here, when it got into the power zone, it was before this nice little sell-off. So I did get short over here, which I talked about, just to cover and hedge a little bit. And then, you know, because the price action, it just changes, and you have to just keep changing if the price is, if that's what it is. You just have to read the chart. You can't just put emotion on it. And so what I did is, since I got kind of defended some stuff after this price action here and this big candle and this volume and being pretty clear over here, I actually took that off, because I don't like it. The price action changed again. I mean, when you get movement like this, can it continue to go down? Absolutely. But now this was telling us like, oh, this is kind of getting short. It consolidated enough. We talked about it on the video that what we wanted to see for the bulls to defend this is for them to get into the battle zone here and pull the bears down while they gained momentum, which is exactly what happened here, and bouncing off of this trend line. So that gave a good sign. And since it's defending that well, I can't say I would expect it to break or not. It's just that's ended up being what happened. And so now, after this big pump, I just kind of closed that for a scratch. It was a hedge anyway, because if it would have broke down and this didn't bounce, because easily could have went the other way, right? And, you know, from, if I replay it, and we're, let's say, right here, you know, there's no way in hell, you know, from this data, this looks very bearish, and that's how you have to read it. And so, when you get that first signal, because this will give you a better eye than down here, you know, getting short down here is a little dangerous on that trend line. If it's a defense or a hedge, that's okay. But with DMI, though, you're kind of looking back here and below the exponentials that we like to use. You know, gave us a good little sign, kind of like, oh, crap, we need to defend this, because if it can easily break down from here. And if this price action just went sideways, let's play it forward a little. You know, if on this second little run here, it decided to break this, I mean, it would have easily dumped another $100 to $300 fairly quickly. Bulls came in, defended it so far. We'll see if they can keep doing that. They do look a little bit better slightly today. We'll see if they get some follow through. We do have this new 4-hour that's just getting developed here, just printed. That looks like a pretty nice engulfing candle, especially since it got all kind of this business down here, and we're above again all the moving averages that are all stacked so tight on each other and have been for a couple of weeks. So ultimately, though, we still can't get bullish until we get above, you know, this range. So don't get too excited. But the hourly is showing us that the bulls do have slight momentum here. Let's go see if Ethereum is agreeing. And I'm probably going to keep this one a little bit shorter than usual. All right. Ethereum is coming up on this resistance here on the stacked. Obviously, it is showing bullishness though, so it is agreeing, and it's got some engulfing candle action too. Not the largest as far back. The largest on here was this guy, and there is an interesting W pattern here forming. You don't see these very often. It is only on an hourly, but I'm not a huge pattern guy, but that one is clearly there. But we're still, this is what makes me the most nervous though, is this roundingness. I was mentioning that yesterday, and it's still on all the major pairs. But on the hourly, they are starting to, the bulls are starting to get some momentum for sure. But they are all coming up on major resistance. They need to punch through here stat. And I know that sounds redundant, but it is what it is. This is that level, you know, it was easy to jump to it. Notice how it's stalling out, but it is kind of tapering up after this, which is a good sign. Let's look on the 4-hour. Didn't clear the all of the moving averages. Man, wow, the longest even on the 4-hour is way up here. So this actually, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's erase that. Being kind of this far away and consolidating on this purple, it probably doesn't have much resistance to pop up to here, because you've got that middle of this trend back to, I believe this one goes back to April. Nope, this one goes back to the beginning of the year. And also that red line, the 377 is stacked right on it. So a quick snapshot up here kind of seems possibly in the cards, which would confuse everybody even more than they already are now, that's for sure. Let's see, Litecoin. Litecoin is officially broken out of its channel, so that doesn't really look that great. Maybe it's giving us a warning sign. Let's look at it on a daily. Yeah, on a daily, it's definitely breached it. I'm just going to leave that on there just for a reference right now. I usually like to take them off. But on this trend line cross, we're going to have hardcore resistance at 60 bucks now. And we talked about that yesterday, but now it is, since we didn't have the daily close yet, now that is official. And so 60 bucks, $61 is hardcore resistance on Litecoin. And it's very neutral though on the daily. Slightly bearish on the 3-day. Same on the 4 hour. But again, on the hourly, Litecoin's agreeing with the other big boys and stacking up all on the averages as well. But again, Litecoin has broke. It's a couple days ago officially broke this, so this might just be the retest to try to get back in before the ultimate rollover. That is generally how these play out. But a good trade though, like we saw on oil, and the videos are all timestamped, so you can go back and check out what I'm talking about. It's in the last few videos. If oil kind of, like when oil broke through here, ultimately what you'd want to see is kind of that, and then this where it like hovers around here, gets back in. It'll be something along these lines, and it'll be more stretched out. I'm just trying to give you the pattern, and I ran out of line, man. Where was I supposed to write? All right, so coming up on that resistance though, all these, like, that's why the bulls need to put the pressure on right here before they get yanked down. And as we discussed the last few videos of the October surprises, even on up months, there has been lots of downside movement in early October, even if it ended up on the month or on the quarter. We actually only have had we've only had one negative fourth quarter in Bitcoin since 2011, and that is, you probably guessed it, 2014. All right, let's go to XRP, the rips. All right, let's see here. Rips, you got major resistance here. It is above the longer term resistance on the hourly, and I am on the wrong chart for Ripple. So let's go ahead and boom, back that up a little. There we go. So here you go. It's agreeing too. So this is interesting. We haven't had all the top coins agree on any time frame in a while. And there is a little W on the hourly here as well. So that is very interesting. Super new, and most of them are very, very neutral on the 4 to 3 day, and that means 4 daily and the 3 day. Those are pretty much the main ones I look at. Occasionally the weekly. Well, XRP, I'm sorry, is actually bullish as hell on the daily still, and the 3 day, and even the weekly. And let's see, on the weekly, Ripple has massive support in the upper 40s, but mostly around 50 cents, but all kind of up in the upper 40s, but 50 cents for show. So that's very interesting. And I've got an little alert here for about the mid 40s as my watch out for Ripple. But right now, I'm still pretty bullish on the Ripple. Let's see here. Let's go to EOS. Still kind of playing around, just not doing much action. Tried to fake out, almost got stopped out of this position, but did not. Back just still in the same damn mid quarter, bottom quarter of the target range, which is the green box here. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty non-eventful. Maybe if you watched it just in this little 4-hour period, you were freaking out a little bit, but it ended up just coming right back above to where it has been. Magnetized to the 21 and 55, as price often is in ranges. So nothing too exciting there. High hardcore resistance at 620 for sure. But again, really good support at like 540, man. And we are still going slightly sideways. Or actually super sideways, I'm sorry. I meant to say that we are slightly sloping on this 55 exponential you can see right here in the background. So do be cautious of that. There we go. Clean up some of the drawings. You can see right there it is starting to slope, but the 21 is converging with it, man. I mean, we couldn't get any more. I mean, we can, because we are like each day. I've said that probably like 2-3 days but in a row, but that's just because it's just getting so damn wound up. I cannot wait for this to break out in the next, you know, within the week or so. It's going to be in the early part of October, and at least at minimum in October, that's for sure. All right, let's see. Let's go to, wanted to look at something, but I forgot what the hell it was. Oh yeah, XLM. That's what I'm trying to add in there as a regular player. So XLM is looking still pretty bullish on the daily. Bearish on the 4-hour though. And still bearish on the hourly. So it's one of the coins that's not bullish on the hourly, but it is not one of the you know, most known coins. I mean, I know it's known, but it's not like in the top 5 known. Ripple, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, definitely Dogecoin, you know. Should be Dogecoin. Anyway, this looks pretty damn bullish. Looks like we're right on the 618. Yep, so that's stacked with the 618 right here. Lots of support at 23 cents below that. Get the hell out of there. Which isn't a too bad of a trade setup. If this does turn around and get kind of bullish, you can pretty much risk to about, maybe go down just below, or just do right at 23 cents. And if it does bounce from here, I think it's safe to target in the middle of these two ranges at this kind of wick and the tops of this wick. This is probably a 618 roughly. Yes, it is. So this is about a 618 retracement from here. So I don't know what that's on there for. But anyway, this looks like a decent setup. You know, you got about a 4 to 1 on here. About 6% to the downside, targeting about 20-25% to the upside. So that doesn't look too shabby. Just because it's bouncing off of that area. All right, let's go to Bitcoin Cash. That's the one I also want to keep throwing in here as a regular guest. Bitcoin Cash, neutral. It looks a lot like Bitcoin, very neutral, very neutral. Let's see. On the hourly, though, again, see, all the top dogs have this W formation with nice engulfing and volume at the end of it, and we're getting bullish on the 1 hour. So funny, you know, yesterday's price action kind of gets a little bear, or I guess the last couple days, maybe 3, gets kind of bearish, and today all that's been reversed as we've discussed the bulls and this momentum waning, which definitely played out on Bitcoin Cash as well. So the bulls have got a commanding lead on the hourly, and you know, to be fair, they haven't had one of those in, you know, quite a while, for about a week or so. And it's bouncing nicely off all of these or this longest term moving average. More consolidation. Get ready. I hope you're strapped in for some of these moves. ES, let's go to traditional markets. All right. Let's see. ES. Oh my goodness, I haven't looked at this since after hours. That is a pretty big dumpy dump. Wow, we're below the 225 area. Or 2,925 area. Let's see. That's interesting. On the daily, that's probably right about at the 21 again. Yep. We're coming right at it at 29.13. We are getting divergence, some more clear divergence on the daily. See if we can see it on the 4 hour. Not so much on the 4 hour. On the daily, ever so slightly. And on the 3 day, it's flat. I mean, it's like the daily is the one that really is kind of mattering. But again, we are just coming back into this 21 exponential, which we have been selling or getting long, however you like to get long, deltas, as it's been a really nice bouncing point. But this looks a little bit weaker than some of these last moves previous to here. If we lose this 21 exponential on a daily that doesn't get picked up like this, and it kind of closes, you know, maybe down like closer to the bottom of this wick or tail, that's going to be real bearish. So do keep an eye on that. If that happens, we're very likely to come test this green trend line that's been since the beginning of the year, that big sell-off that we had. So and that's kind of it for that. I think NQ is like looking the same. Yep. So on NQ, it's actually coming close to its trend line as well, which is the 21. So same deal. If now, since it's a little more volatile, you know, you have to give it a little bit more room. So you can like use kind of the 55 for that. But if we get like a daily close at all below 55 with conviction, this isn't really conviction back here. That's like just right on top of it. But if it's definitely below and the line's behind the candle, that's going to be bearish, and it'll bring us down to between these two purple lines in this range. Depending when it might happen, right? It could still keep going up and go up here. But I do feel with the election around the corner, there's likely a move to test this trend line and possibly further. But I think at least to come down to this trend line is in order here fairly quickly. And if we look at something like the Russell has been looking super weak. I guess I've been looking at it on RUT. Oh, no. Go back to the futures. All right. So Russell on the daily is actually getting bearish. The others aren't as... Let's go to ES. Yeah, the others still look kind of bullish, but the Russell is finally saying, hey, guys, you know, I don't really like these moves. And here's an example of when it's closing below there and you don't have anything worthy of coming back over. And you'd be like, well, what about this one? It closed below there and kept going up. Well, it did, but the very next day it reversed and engulfed that whole entire move. So that that's not enough. This one did weak spinning top below the 55. So that's 2 days closed below, and then a weak attempt after a sell-off to get back over it. And couldn't get, because really you want this to be engulfing and get way closer to the 21. Didn't get that. Next day had a big sell-off. And if we zoom in on the 4 hour, you'll see that this has been actually pretty damn bearish all the way back over here since September 24th in this range. And then ultimately confirmed all its bearishness on this candle, breaking the longest term moving average of 377. And so as you can see, we're struggling now to even get above 21 4-hour exponential. The Russell has been showing weakness pretty much all September, all last month, I guess now. So it was kind of warning a little bit, and as you can see, it hasn't been this weak in quite a while. And there is that kind of rounding formation right here, right? That wasn't the best drawing, kind of like right here, kind of playing out, and you could even like made it like tighter, and then it comes over here and tests. You can draw that a lot of different ways for rounding. Did not end well thus far, so it is looking bearish. How about on the 3-day? The 3-day has a slight bearish bias, but not anything to worry about yet. But the daily does. The bulls, again, like in crypto, they got to defend 1650 on the Russell. Or, geez, we're probably going to make a trip down to 1600s. All right. Oil. Oil has been on fire, as we've been discussing and chatting about for a while, since it broke about 69, came back in here, stabilized on it, or around it, and then once it gave a break above 71, that was the target. For it's on like Donkey Kong. It's been riding this 4-hour 21 exponential for a hot minute. We are coming up to pretty good resistance in the middle of this channel. Oil does like to move though. Let me kind of readjust this. Oil does like to move though, so it easily could pop up to the upper part of this channel, which is about 80 bucks. And I don't see anything on the daily that could say it can't. Let's see here on the 3-day. Now, on the 3-day, it actually is putting in slight divergences. How about the weekly? The weekly is actually showing pretty major divergences, especially in DMI. And I'm looking at this right here, and then to measure that up with these highs here. So you got kind of this area was the ultimate super pump back in the beginning of the year, and then another super pump way lower, and then another pump lower than back here, and then this pump here where it hasn't ended yet, but it is below in the weak zone, while the bears have noticeably on the weekly been creeping in. They are getting kind of pushed back below here into the forgotten zone, so that is something to be aware of. But let's look at it on the 4-hour. In the 4-hour, we are getting divergence on the RSI and the DMI, but we're still in some a pretty strong area as the bears are pretty suppressed here. You can't really get too bearish on oil until we break like 75 bucks. Let's see on the hourly. Yeah, 75 bucks, and everything looks still pretty decent on oil, except for that slight divergence on the 3-day and the weekly. All right, gold. Gold is still kind of looking the same. It looks like it's trying to just get a little bit of strength. It gave up a lot of that move, or about half that move yesterday, but it is finding support on the 55 and 21, all right around here. So that's good, which also coincides with the top part of this power zone. So that is a good sign. This could just be a slight liquidation break from that move. Although the hourly is saying that the bears are about to take back command. But the good news is that kind of hovering around 1200, give or take $5, that can easily get enough momentum and build up some upward momentum, that is. Build up some pressure to maybe come up here, and as this gets stretched out, the longer term moving average maybe get some energy to pop to it. So, you know, that could be anywhere in the teens, 12, 20, 12, 15s area. But ultimately, y'all know I am bearish on metals. Stronger dollar will do that. And let's look at the dollar. Actually, speaking of, there you go. There's some big, strong moves in that dollar power. Raising those rates, did that pretty much right after. We all knew it was happening. It was like a 98% chance. Market was like, oh, maybe it won't, and then it did, and it was like, okay, let's rip it. And it's been ripping since that meeting, which is impressive that gold has been kind of more resilient and went up slightly in this big move, because usually that is definitely the opposite. They don't move together traditionally. And the dollar is getting pretty strong. I would imagine that it's going to probably make new highs. I probably want to, I kind of want to think it's going to happen after the election, whatever goes down there. Once that just kind of gets out of the way, I can see the dollar punching up and testing this resistance up here at about 96 bucks. All right, let's go to Bitcoin shorts and then final thoughts. So you can see the shorts are struggling. They're getting back up here in the 30,000s though. As y'all know, about 40K is the hardcore resistance line up here at the top. Indicators I don't really think matter on this, so let's just go to price alone. Yeah, but they are finding support kind of back over here in all this area. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more shorts, because like why have they never been able to get over that? I mean, like 40,000 Bitcoin is like not, that's a lot, but it's not that much, you know. And as you can see, there is a pretty nice trend line here. I'm not sure what trend lines mean at looking at the shorts, but just kind of noticed that right there. So maybe if this kind of keeps ratcheting up while price goes sideways, might hint out at something. I'm not sure. All right, back to the BTC. Final thoughts. Let's see what it's doing. Looks like it's trying to move a little bit up, about 20 bucks since we were talking earlier. If you look on the 5-minute, yeah, I mean, this gives me this price action happening here a couple days ago, or I guess yesterday. You know, it was a little bit bearish. It played out. We got a little good warning before even this sell-off. I mean, if you like to scalp and do that, there's definitely ample opportunity there. And then bouncing off of this trend line here, forming these W's, getting all of this bullishness across the board. We haven't, like I said, we haven't had matching indicators on the top coins in quite some time. It is only on the hourly, so it's nothing to get too excited about. And I mean, we do have this hardcore resistance, which has existed for a long time on BTC. And by long time, I mean all the way back to the beginning of the year. That's been rejected multiple times. Boom, boom, boom. Y'all know, y'all have looked at this chart. probably at least twice. So riding up into the apex of this triangle. Again, 6,600 has been really hardcore resistance. If we zoom in a little bit more, and we talked about the other day, it's kind of like 6,666 is kind of the funny number now, which is hilarious to me. It's compressing right underneath that. Well, that's about all there is to say about the coin market right now. Again, just kind of watch that hourly and see if this can stay sustained. And by sustained, I mean something like this here, or like this kind of here, or where it just stays above like a lot longer here. And then when you start seeing it for maybe like a day or two, sit up on there, then move over to the 4 and see if that can continue, right? Like back in here where it stayed all above it pretty much from 65 to 74, and then dropped below it real quick on this initial dump. Of course it did, coming up into this trend line that's been rejected. So we're getting close to it again. We're probably getting a little bit of power to come and test the upper ends of this channel and then do some more compression. It's going to be really fun and exciting. But do know October will be fun and exciting. It's not going to be like this for the entire month. We are going to have a big move. So, if you enjoyed any of the content, please subscribe, bell, and smash the likes. Happy trading. This has been No Noise Research with your host, Z-Rex. Much love out there, and I will chat with y'all tomorrow. Peace.